Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about my predictions for college game day is going to go each week. So here we go. Week one, it's going to be Clemson at LSU. And really the only reason for that is there aren't many good matchups. That's one of the main criticisms of the schedule is week one. There aren't many marquee matchups where it felt like there were a handful of good ones last year. But hopefully there'll be a better matchup this year. I know last year, while it was a good game, both teams disappointed, at the end of the year when it came to beating their expectations. Week two, it's going to be Ohio State at Texas. And why would we want to be anything else? They were in Columbus last year. They're going to be in Austin this year. I think it'll be a great game. I know last year it was a one-score, defensive battle, but this year I think it'll be a lot higher scoring and will still be very close. Week three, probably the most anticipated matchup. Well, not the most. I know it's the most anticipated matchup this year. One of the most anticipated matchups at all time. LSU at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's return to Oxford. I think the college football world would riot if it was anything else. Week four, it's going to be Oregon at USC. That'll be a marquee matchup for this week. Oregon always dominant in the regular season. USC kind of take that jump to be one of the marquee teams in the Big Ten, competing for a Big Ten title, playoff berth, national championship. I think potentially this week, Georgia playing Oklahoma in Athens could be a better matchup, but I think they'll want to save one of those two teams for 2 weeks from them when Oklahoma plays Georgia, or not Georgia, Texas, excuse me. Georgia is in Tuscaloosa, they'll save it for that week. I think week five is going to be Miami at Clemson, and really the reason is this is one of those 2 or 3 weeks this year where there aren't many good matchups. I suppose they could try to put two non-power 4 teams playing each other. I know that's what the college football community is kind of asking for, but they seem hesitant to do that for some reason. Week six, I think it's going to be Georgia at Alabama. Those games have been cinema the past 2 years. 2 years ago, it was one of the best games ever. Last year, in the regular season, it was one of the best games of the year. And then with all the hype in the SEC championship, Georgia just destroyed Alabama. But I think this will be a very competitive game this year, and I think it'll be could be one of the best games of the year again. Week seven is going to be Ohio State at Indiana. It's a Big Ten championship. Why do we want it to be anything else? There aren't really that many good matchups this week, but even if there were, why would we want to see anything else but this one? Week eight, it's going to be Ole Miss at Texas. I know some people are going to say, well, Texas Tech plays Cincinnati that week, but without Brandon Sorsby, I don't think they'll pick that game. I think Ole Miss Texas will be a better game anyways, but if Brandon Sorsby somehow is able to play, which I don't think would be right, but that's a conversation for another time, they'll probably put that game, but I don't think he'll be able to play, so I think it'll be Ole Miss at Texas. Week eight should be a decent matchup with Arizona State at BYU. I think they'll pick that game because there aren't really that many good options. It's kind of one of those, like I said, 2 or 3 weeks where they don't really have many good options, but I think that'll be a good competitive one in the Big 12. Week 10 will be one of the best college football weekends of all time. You're going to have Alabama, LSU, Ohio State, Oregon, BYU, Utah, some other matchups I'm not mentioning, but I think it'll be Miami at Notre Dame because we all know the headline and the story from last year when Miami beat Notre Dame. Then when the playoff rankings came out, Notre Dame was ahead of Miami, but then Miami kind of jumped in for no reason, but should have been ahead to start with. We all know the story. That will be a great game for Week 10. Week 11, I think, will be Texas at LSU. Who doesn't want to see a Sarkisian Kiffin matchup? If one of those teams does disappoint, they could potentially choose USC, Indiana, but I think Texas and LSU will be playoff contenders at that point. Week 12 is going to be Oklahoma at Texas A&M. Potential pivotal matchup for playoffs in the SEC. There aren't really that many good options. I suppose they could do Notre Dame, SMU, but does anybody besides those two fan bases want to watch that over Oklahoma and A&M? I doubt it. Week 13, it's going to be Michigan at Ohio State. It's always so much hype leading this game. There aren't really many good options for other rivalry games that week. Does anybody want to watch, Florida, FSU? No. Auburn's never confirmed Tuscaloosa, those types of games. So I think this will be a great game. And who doesn't like to go to social media right when the game then and watch those two teams fan bases argue? I know I personally love doing that after that game. And week 14 to finish it off, I think they'll do the Big Ten championship. I know the last 2 years SEC championship has more viewers. It probably will again this year, but I think they'll be fair because they did college game day there the last 2 years in Atlanta. So I think they'll do the Big Ten championship this week. Comment down below if you think I'm wrong on any of these and what matchup you think it'll be in what week. And as always, thanks for watching.